who learned how to succeed, be happy, and get rich at the same time. And he wrote a great book about it. You're going to love the title, Success and Self-Discovery. With us is Stephen M. Stroum, whose list of accomplishments as well, it's extreme. You know, when I grow up, I certainly would love to follow in his footsteps.
Every time I made a change to make myself happier, I made more money. I made more money because I was working for myself, not for my mother and father or other people. You can learn about resolving issues with employees, and more importantly, you can learn that the entrepreneurial road is full of bumps, crevices, potholes, twists, turns, things that you can't imagine.
And here's an insider's brief about an honest and truthful account about a blue-collar kid who learned how to succeed, be happy, and get rich at the same time. And he wrote a great book about it. You're going to love the title, Success and Self-Discovery. With us is Stephen M. Stroum, whose list of accomplishments as well, it's extreme. You know, when I grow up, I certainly would love to follow in his footsteps. Hi, Stephen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tony. It's nice to be with you.
The honor is mine. And, you know, I spent many years in the corporate world as well. And I'm curious right off the bat, because I think it'll lead into your incredible book. What made you go into business for yourself and be an entrepreneur and leave the cushy corporate world?
Well, I'm fundamentally unemployable. And what that means is I can't work for anybody else. I had tremendous success in the corporate world early on, but I was equally impatient. And I had an experience working for Fireman's Fund American Life Insurance Company where I took over sales territory that was 49th out of 50 in the company. Within 3 months, I outproduced my predecessor's entire previous year, brought it up to third place, and my boss called me into his office. I figured, geez, I'm going to get a stroke, maybe even a raise. What happened was, he said to me, Steve, you know, in life, some people need steak to be happy, and others are just happy with pork and beans. He said, around here, we're just happy with pork and beans. Do you get what I mean? Which blew me away. So frankly, I was just mystified. How can a sales manager stop a guy from producing? And, you know, I was only 25 years old. So I went back I was just totally disappointed. And I took basically the next 4 weeks off. I worked a little in the morning, then I'd go down to the Marina Green, I'd jog around San Francisco. 4 weeks later, I get called into an appointment at the home office, and the VP of brokerage says to me, congratulations, you're leading the company in sales. I said, shame on you. I haven't worked in 4 weeks and I'm leading your company in sales. So he whispered, come into my office and talk. So anyway, long story short, somebody heard, a fellow named Mike Gerber heard about me. He had a company, contacted me and offered me a position. And it was a straight commission position. That was my first entry into entrepreneurship. And making that decision was tough because, you know, I had a pretty good cushy job in the corporate world and so on and so forth. So anyway, I worked with Mike for about 6 months, worked my tail off. I mean, it was literally from 6 in the morning till midnight. Barely took time to eat. I was smoking like a fiend, but we were just making stuff happen. And in July of '76, my wife and I took a trip back home to Massachusetts for the bicentennial. And I was really burnt out, but the rest did me good. I was home a week. My wife was home for 2 weeks. I got back to California. I got a call from Mike that said, hey, meet me at the airport. We got a gig in Los Angeles. I go down to LA with him and we're talking to the clients and everything's cool. And on the way back, he says to me, Steve, we want you to start another business with us. And I said, Mike, that wasn't our agreement. But again, I was 1/3 partner by this point. After I started making a lot of commissions early on, naturally they put me on a salary. And it was a terrific salary. This was the average annual salary back in those days was about $11,000 a year. I was making $36,000 as a 25-year-old kid with a company car and blah, blah, blah. At any rate, it was like a punch in the gut. I was out of work. I wasn't going to start another business with them. That wasn't our agreement. Didn't have the energy. So I got a book entitled "Where Do I Go From Here with My Life?" I sat down, and that was scary too, because I was committed to whatever the answer was. And long story short, my wife and I decided to move back home to Boston. We had been in San Francisco for 2 years. I came home and I had a couple of interviews. The first interview I had was a company called American Career Planning Services. Great guy named Walt Cameron. He loved me, but he wouldn't hire me because I didn't really have the experience in the world corporate worldview. But I knew I could do it because I had done it. So anyway, I said to him at the conclusion of our meeting, I said, Walt, he said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to start my own business. And frankly, I had started playing around at the San Francisco Public Library doing some prospecting before I even moved home. And so I said to Walt at the conclusion of our meeting, I said, if I start this business, may I come back and see you? And he said, yes. So that was the beginning of it. I put $300 in the bank, which in today's dollars is about $1,500. I developed a logo, letterhead, business cards, hired a salesman, called Walt back, made an appointment. It was a Friday at 1:10 at the Prudential Tower in Boston. I had my wife call me at 1:15 to break me out of the meeting and make me appear important. And long story short, Walt, I went on with my presentation explaining what publicity was and what it could do for him and so forth. And he said to me, look, I'm not General Electric. I don't have that kind of money I've already spent $40,000 on advertising. And back in those days, I said, listen, you can't afford not to spend another $395. That was my close. I walked out with a check for $395. A salesman and I was so excited, went to the elevator. We needed a bathroom so badly. I hit 38, got off on the 38th floor, came out of the restroom, and there was an office that said there was an advertisement for a directory of manufacturers in New England. So I went in and spent $15, bought a directory of manufacturers. We started cold calling. And that first year we did 160,000 in business. Our second year we did 360. And that gave me a profit in today's dollars of over $500,000. And I was on my way.
Stephen, I was right when I said at the introduction that when I grow up, I want to be like you. That's absolutely amazing to do back then at your age, that kind of money. I'm just absolutely astounded. And you've just had this runaway success on your business. And I'm wondering, is it though that's what you put in this book, how to do this? Like, what is that what made you write your book called Success and Self-Discovery and put that information and how to in the book?
Well, there is quite a bit of how-to in the book, but it's a very integrated story. The working title for years was Blue Collar Entrepreneur. But when I decided to really publish, that didn't have the right connotation. What happened was when I became very successful early, I was only 28, 29 years old. And again, 11 full-time employees, going like hell, running people. You know what happens, early success, everybody wants a piece of you. I had a big 8 accounting firm. They were charging me next to nothing, thought I was going to be the next God knows what. So, but rather than becoming elated by this success, I became depressed. And when I say depressed, I was seeing a therapist 3 days a week just to maintain my sanity. And I got depressed, and it had a lot to do with family activities and things from my childhood. And so I had to get into it, and that's the self-discovery part. So even though I was on autopilot and having success and I could sell anything to anybody, I wasn't happy. So it took, and the book, the story I get into how I ironed and figured all that out, how I ironed it out, and changes I had to make personally and professionally to keep my company going. And the great irony is that every time I made a change to make myself happier, I made more money. I made more money because I was working for myself, not for my mother and father or other people, and it's just been a fabulous ride. My first entry into my journal about this book was in 1983, and it only took me 40 years to get to doing it. And about a year and a half ago, I said to myself, you've been wanting to write this book for a long time. Get on it. And I did. And I'm very, very proud. And I've had tremendous feedback because it's not only a book about, quote, success, but the real success is integrating being totally happy. I was successful in business and become financially independent. I'm pleased about that. The story gets into all the, my mission initially was like any other young guy. You want to be top of the world. You want to build a huge company and this and that. I got involved in politics. I was a small business advisor to the governor of Massachusetts. I went to South Korea as an ambassador for the International Rotary Foundation, and all these wonderful, wonderful things happening. And I had some great experiences. I had one, but the book is also, it's about values clarification. What's right for you, and what I had to learn what was right for me. And so often in life, we perform for other people, and that's part of the big part of the story.
Stephen, we're entrepreneurs, we're business owners here in the audience. We've got a lot on our plate, but we, of course, want to expand our business. We want to be more successful. We want to make it to the next level. And people listening are probably thinking, what can this book do for me? What can I get from reading your book? So let me just ask it just like that. What can we get from reading this book?
The book can change your life because there's a number of things in it. You can learn conflict resolution. Had conflicts with my family. You can learn about resolving issues with employees. And more importantly, you can learn that the entrepreneurial road is full of bumps, crevices, potholes, twists, turns, things that you can't imagine. And I mentioned previously, I went to Korea as an ambassador. And 6 weeks, I was gone out of my business for 8 weeks. And I had a terrific assistant who ran the company while I was gone. But my key man came to me the night before I left and literally cried on my shoulders, gave me a kiss and said, "Don't worry about a thing. My mother will take care of you, babysit for your son. My wife will help your wife, and I will look out for your business." And when I got back 8 weeks later, I got a call from a client that said, "Hey, what's Charlie doing? He just called me up and told me he can do the work for half price because he knows all your costs now." So I was totally betrayed by this guy. And that threw me for a loop. And I had to learn how to cope with that. But betrayal is not an uncommon thing in entrepreneurship. As you know, you've talked to a number of people about it. So that was part of it. But with respect to resolving conflicts, understanding who you are and coming up with information that makes sense to you is a big part of the book. But I also get into specific how-tos, how to build a sales presentation, how to create a sales presentation, how to manage a territory, how to take advantage of free publicity. This is what I've done for my clients for 46 years. And I'm working with the same clients now for 46 years. I've only kept a dozen of them. But these are people that I've known my entire adult life. So what people, I hope, will get out of the book is inspiration. First of all, inspiration, entertainment. I've been told I had a client call me and say, "Hey, you ruined my Saturday. I bought your book and I can't put it down." Okay. So I've heard that quite a bit. So it's entertaining. It's a page turner. It's 300 pages. It's got a lot of information in it. And it's also has a chapter about entrepreneurship and why entrepreneurship is so critical to America. And I've studied it quite a bit. And so I think people will be inspired by the book. And I think they will also learn a great deal about how to really be in touch with what you want personally and how to have a more joyful, productive life and get rich at the same time. I had a famous business broker, come into my office. He sold the Harvard Coupe here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, really knew his stuff. And after our meeting and after I gave him all the numbers and we sat down, he took them back and analyzed them. He came back to me and said, "Steve, let's go to lunch. You got the best one-man business I've ever seen."
Stephen, where can we find more? And also, I'm curious the answer to that question. Why are entrepreneurs so important? Why do you say that?
I say that because entrepreneurship is really, it's freedom. It's most entrepreneurs, the blue collar entrepreneur is a different story. He or she is the fellow I'm talking to. The other people that get up and they go into business, almost defensively. I had a guy, for example.
I know you had that call on purpose to make you look important.
Absolutely. It's an old trick, Tony. I had a client that got fired from a company, and one of his customers liked what he did, bought him a machine, put the machine in his garage. Long story short, he's got 100 machines now in a fabulous machine shop. So a lot of people get into entrepreneurship because they have to. They don't have a plan B. It's a survival situation. It's not like the white collar guy that raises $10 million and still takes down a $300,000 salary while he's building his business. Entrepreneurs and small business people make up. It used to be in 1977, they made up 92% of all. They created 92% of all jobs. Today it's 64%. And if it keeps eroding like that, we won't have the same country. America is about freedom and free enterprise, and capitalism drives the market. So the more regulations we have, I'm afraid the less people will be inclined to go into business for themselves and to create things. And I just talked in my final chapter about 3 entrepreneurs and what they've done. Jeff Bezos, he's created 1,600,000 jobs, starting from his garage. Bill Gates has created, I think, well over 500,000 jobs. And look what they're doing philanthropically. The fellow from Home Depot, Langone, now you can go to New York NYU Medical School free because he's financing it. So entrepreneurs make things happen in this country, and that's why I love entrepreneurship. It's freedom. In fact, I bought a T-shirt. I created a T-shirt called "Celebrate Entrepreneurship," and that's what we need to do. Entrepreneurship's freedom.
I love it. And where can we find out more, Stephen? Go to your website?
You can go to the website, which is smstroum, STROUM.com, or go right to Amazon.com and put in success and self-discovery and read about it. You get a sample of the book there. So that's the best thing to do. Go to Amazon. You get to read a few pages. You get to read about my background, and hopefully choose to buy the book and become very successful.
Well, it sounds very entertaining and instructive both. So I love books like that. It's a good read, but it's not like boring because you're getting anecdotes, you're getting good stories, you're getting good lessons and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to checking more into it myself, if I said that right grammatically. And I want to thank you so much for being on Insider's Brief with us. I really appreciate your coming on and telling us about it. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Tony, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.